Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want you to listen carefully because God is speaking through the simplest things. He revealed a salt secret, a spiritual key hidden in plain sight. This salt is more than seasoning. It represents purity, preservation, and divine authority. When you understand it, your life begins to repel decay, attract favor, and preserve what God has entrusted to you. Use it wisely, daily in prayer, in faith, in obedience, and watch God turn ordinary moments into supernatural breakthroughs. This revelation is urgent and timing is everything. Ladies and gentlemen, when God reveals a secret, it is never ordinary, it is supernatural, and it carries power that can transform your life if you grasp it. Tonight, we focus on the first keynote. God's salt secret represents spiritual preservation and protection. Think about salt for a moment. In the natural world, salt is not just an ingredient. It preserves, it prevents decay, it maintains value. It stops corruption from setting in. God uses this as a metaphor for your spiritual life. The salt He has revealed to you is a symbol of His divine preservation. It is a representation of how He intends to keep you safe, untainted, and thriving in a world that is constantly trying to corrupt, distract, and derail you. Many people live their lives without understanding the importance of preservation. They expend energy on temporary things, they run after fleeting pleasures, and they allow situations to deteriorate without realizing that God has provided a way to preserve what is theirs. This salt secret is that provision. When God gives you a revelation like this, it is not just information, it is spiritual ammunition. It is something you must act upon, something you must apply, something you must integrate into your daily walk with Him. It is an active element, not passive. Preservation is not automatic. It requires awareness, it requires faith, and it requires obedience. Salt preserves by contact. When it touches the food, it protects it, changes its environment, and makes it resistant to decay. In the same way, God's preservation works when you apply His principles, when you align yourself with His word, and when you remain in His presence. If you ignore this salt, if you neglect the secret God has given you, your life can begin to deteriorate spiritually, emotionally, and even physically. The enemy would love for you to live unprotected, to allow situations to rot, relationships to decay, and blessings to go to waste. But God, in His infinite wisdom, has provided this salt as a safeguard, a shield, a protective agent that can stop decay before it even starts. You must understand that this is not just symbolic, it is practical. Spiritual preservation affects your decisions, your actions, your relationships, and your mindset. It keeps you from yielding to negative influences, from being overwhelmed by challenges, and from being consumed by things that have no eternal value. It maintains the integrity of your purpose, the sanctity of your calling, and the strength of your faith. God is teaching you that preservation requires awareness. You must recognize what is at risk, what could be lost, and what needs divine intervention. Then, by applying this salt through prayer, through obedience, through consecration, you allow God's protection to manifest in every area of your life. Salt also enhances. It does not merely protect. It brings out the flavor in food. It brings out the best in what it touches. In the same way, God's preservation does not just keep you safe. It brings out the fullness of your potential. It strengthens your spiritual character, and it highlights the value of everything He has placed in your life. When you use this salt secret, you are participating with God in maintaining the excellence, the integrity, and the impact of your life in a world that is constantly seeking to dilute and diminish your destiny. Preservation, therefore, is not passive waiting. It is active engagement. It is vigilance. It is intentionality. It is recognizing that God's hand is at work and cooperating with it. As you apply this salt in faith, you are not just avoiding decay, you are stepping into a life that is fortified, that is prepared, and that is blessed. Every step you take under this divine preservation aligns you with God's protection, and it positions you to fulfill your destiny without being hindered by the corrosive influences that surround you. The salt secret is a covenant of protection. God's revelation is a personal gift. It is meant to equip you with the tools to stand firm, to remain unshaken, and to thrive in an unstable world. It is meant to make your life resistant to decay, to disappointment, and to the schemes of the enemy. This is the essence of spiritual preservation, and this is why God has chosen salt as his symbol. It is practical, it is powerful, and it is purposeful. Ladies and gentlemen, the second keynote is profound. Using God's salt secret in faith and obedience activates divine favor in your life. Faith is not passive, it is a conscious choice to trust in God's promises and act upon them. The salt God has revealed to you is a spiritual key, and keys only work when you turn them in the right lock. When you apply this salt with faith, you are acknowledging that God is in control, that his timing is perfect, and that his power can intervene in your circumstances. Obedience is the companion of faith. It is one thing to know the secret, it is another to act on it, to align your life with the instructions God has given, and to submit fully to his direction. Salt in the natural realm does nothing unless it touches the food. In the same way, God's salt secret requires your active participation. Faith without action is incomplete, and obedience without understanding is shallow. Together, they unlock favor. Favor is more than luck. It is divine alignment. It is God causing things to work in your life beyond human effort, beyond natural expectation. When you use this salt in faith, in obedience, doors that seem closed begin to open. Opportunities that were hidden become visible. Relationships, finances, and spiritual breakthroughs all start to shift in your favor. The moment you take deliberate steps to apply this secret, God responds. Favor flows where faith and obedience meet, because God honors those who honor his instructions. Many people fail to experience God's favor because they treat revelation casually. They hear the secret but delay action. They understand the principle but fail to apply it consistently. And they doubt that God will intervene. Faith demands immediacy, and obedience requires consistency. The salt secret is not a one-time action. It is a lifestyle of daily submission and trust. Each time you engage with it, you are reinforcing your alignment with God's purposes. And favor begins to manifest in layers, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically, but always powerfully. Divine favor also protects and promotes. When favor rests on you, doors open in your career, in your relationships, and in your spiritual walk that no human effort can achieve. Favor draws people, circumstances, and opportunities toward you, and it shifts the environment around you. Salt in the natural world enhances flavor in the spiritual realm. God's favor enhances your life. It highlights your potential, it elevates your purpose, and it positions you for breakthroughs. Using this salt in faith is an act of trust in God's character, acknowledging that he is faithful to perform what he has promised. It is an admission that your strength alone is insufficient, that without his guidance and blessing, your efforts remain limited. Obedience to his revelation demonstrates humility, submission, and alignment with his divine order. Favor is not earned through human striving, but activated through cooperation with God's principles. As you remain faithful to apply this salt, you discover that doors begin to open before you even reach them, that obstacles fall away, and that people begin to respond positively to your presence and your purpose. The combination of faith and obedience ensures that God's hand is visible in your life. You become a living testimony of his provision and guidance. Many times people pray for favor but neglect the practical steps God requires: faithful action, consistent application, and full obedience to his revelation. The salt secret is designed to teach you that favor flows where trust is real and action is aligned. It reminds you that divine blessing is always conditional upon your willingness to participate in God's process, to engage with his instructions, and to move in accordance with his will. When you grasp this principle, you see that favor is not random, it is activated. It is responsive to your faith and obedience, and it changes the trajectory of your life in ways that natural wisdom cannot predict. Faith without obedience leaves potential untapped, and obedience without faith leaves effort fruitless. Together, they unlock the supernatural, and the salt secret becomes a tool of transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, the third keynote is critical. Salt symbolizes purity. Aligning your life with God's ways maintains blessings. In the natural world, salt is pure, untainted, and incorruptible. Spiritually, God uses it as a symbol of holiness, integrity, and alignment with his will. When your life is seasoned with this divine purity, it resists corruption, dishonesty, and compromise. Many people fail to understand that blessings can be blocked not because God is unwilling to give, but because the vessel receiving them is contaminated. God's blessings flow to those whose lives reflect His nature, whose hearts are clean, whose motives are pure. Salt by its very nature enhances and preserves, and in the same way, purity in your life preserves the blessings God has prepared for you. Aligning your life with God's ways is not always easy. It requires discipline, self-examination, and a willingness to let go of behaviors, habits, and relationships that dilute your spiritual potency. Purity is not merely about avoiding sin. It is about cultivating a life that reflects God's character in every thought, word, and action. When your life is aligned with His principles, every blessing that comes to you is enhanced, preserved, and made effective. Salt does not only preserve, it penetrates and transforms. Likewise, purity affects every layer of your life. It penetrates your decisions, your speech, your actions, and your interactions with others. God's salt secret reminds you that your spiritual environment must be uncontaminated if you are to fully experience His favor and provision. Without purity, blessings may come but fail to last. They may be tainted or corrupted before they manifest fully. The world is full of distractions, temptations, and pressures that seek to compromise your integrity. God's revelation of salt calls you to remain steadfast, to resist compromise, and to pursue a life of holiness and righteousness. Purity is also relational. Your interactions, the people you allow close to your life, and the influences you permit all affect your spiritual seasoning. Salt preserves not in isolation, it works in contact with other elements. Likewise, your purity works to maintain and enhance your blessings, not only for you, but also for those around you. It creates an atmosphere where God's favor is evident, where His protection is active, and where His purpose can flourish without interference. Spiritual purity requires vigilance. It demands awareness of your thoughts, the intentions of your heart, and the subtle compromises that can erode your alignment with God. It requires commitment to prayer, meditation on the Word, and consistent reflection on your actions. Every choice to honor God, every decision to reject compromise, and every effort to maintain integrity strengthens the protective and enhancing power of the salt secret in your life. God's blessings are not static. They respond to the condition of your heart and the alignment of your life. When you maintain purity, you create a vessel worthy of receiving and sustaining His favor. Salt teaches that what is incorruptible preserves what is valuable. In the spiritual realm, this means that holiness, integrity, and alignment with God's ways protect your destiny, your opportunities, and the favor that God is eager to release. Purity does not restrict, it empowers. It opens doors, it elevates your testimony, and it positions you for supernatural influence. The salt secret is a call to intentional living. It reminds you that every action, every choice, every thought matters in maintaining God's blessings. Aligning with His ways is not optional. It is essential for preservation and enhancement of your life's purpose. God's salt secret demands that you refuse contamination, that you embrace holiness, and that you let your life be a vessel through which His light, favor, and blessings can flow unhindered. Purity is the key to sustaining and multiplying everything God has placed in your life. And this secret reveals that nothing can replace the power of a life aligned with His will. Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth keynote is urgent. Timing is critical. Applying God's salt secret before it's too late unlocks breakthroughs. In life, opportunities and divine interventions are oftentimes sensitive. There is a season for everything, and God's revelation of the salt secret comes with a sense of immediacy. Just as salt loses its potency if delayed or misused, the spiritual advantage you gain from this secret depends on prompt application. Delays in obedience, hesitation in faith, or procrastination in implementing God's instructions can result in missed breakthroughs, lost favor, and delayed blessings. The enemy thrives on delay because it weakens momentum, erodes faith, and allows circumstances to worsen. God's salt secret is a tool designed to arrest decay, activate favor, preserve purity, and position you for supernatural alignment, but it must be used in the right moment. Recognizing the timing of God's intervention requires spiritual sensitivity, attentiveness to His voice, and readiness to act decisively. Often people receive revelation but fail to apply it at the right moment, and by the time they act, The moment has passed. The salt secret is a tangible reminder that divine opportunities are fleeting and precious. Just as salt works immediately upon contact, the spiritual benefit of God's secret manifests the moment you engage it with faith, obedience, and consistency. Timing is more than speed. It is discernment. It is the ability to recognize when God's hand is poised to move, when His favor is ready to flow, and when His protection is prepared to secure your life. Acting too early can be ineffective, and acting too late can result in loss. But acting in alignment with God's timing brings exponential results. Breakthroughs are often the product of divine orchestration, and the salt secret is one of the mechanisms God uses to synchronize your efforts with His purposes. When you engage it promptly, you position yourself in the center of His will, where obstacles crumble, doors open, and unexpected provision manifests. Timing also amplifies the impact of your faith and obedience. When you act at the right moment, your efforts are multiplied and God's supernatural power is evident. Conversely, hesitation diminishes effectiveness, allowing the natural order of circumstances to dominate. Salt, in the natural realm, prevents decay and sustains freshness. In the spiritual realm, applying this secret at the right time preserves your spiritual momentum and sustains breakthroughs that might otherwise be delayed or lost. Urgency in application is not about anxiety or fear. It is about readiness, attentiveness, and intentional alignment with God's instructions. Every moment you wait unnecessarily diminishes the full potential of what God wants to do through you. The salt secret teaches that spiritual principles require active engagement at the right time to yield results. This timing principle also underscores the importance of preparation. You cannot apply God's secret effectively if your heart, mind, and actions are not aligned with His will. Preparation creates readiness, and readiness ensures that when the divine moment arrives, you can act decisively and effectively. Breakthroughs, protection, favor, and divine acceleration are all tied to timing. The sooner you embrace the revelation, the sooner you experience the manifestation of God's promises in your life. This is why God emphasizes urgency in revelation. The longer you delay, the more you expose yourself to decay, missed opportunities, and the schemes of the enemy. Understanding the value of timing is crucial in maximizing the benefit of the salt secret. Acting immediately with faith, obedience, and purity allows you to access the full measure of God's intervention, ensuring that your life is preserved, elevated, and positioned for supernatural multiplication. Timing transforms potential into reality, and the salt secret is the catalyst that converts revelation into practical, life-changing results.